Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Zone to Speak podcast. I'm your host, Juliana. This episode of Zone to Speak is supported by Peloton, the ultimate sunscreen for athletes. If you know me, you know I never leave the house without sunscreen, and Peloton is my go-to. It's lightweight, breathable, and designed for endurance sports, perfect for any day out on the saddle. And because they are supporting the podcast, you get 20% off your order. Just head to the link in the show notes and use the code ZONE2SPEAK at checkout. Protect your skin, fuel your adventures, and support the pod while you do it. All right. Today on Zone to Speak, I have two guests, and they aren't just two accomplished cyclists. They are two people who have somehow figured it out how to build a life around bikes, adventure, business, events, podcasts, travel, and parenting. My guests are Laura and Ted King. Now, individually, they probably need no introduction. Ted raced at the highest level of professional cycling, including the Tour de France, before becoming one of the defining figures of gravel cycling in the US in North America. He has won Unbound, built a huge media presence through King of the Ride, and somehow still finds new ways to challenge himself. Laura has been a racer, community builder, advocate for women, and one of the most authentic voices in the sport when it comes to balancing athletic ambition, family, and real life. Together, they have built something that's pretty rare. So today, we're talking about racing, parenthood, rebel culture, and raising kids in a cycling household. Let's get into it. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So most people know Ted and Laura, the cyclists, but there is also Ted and Laura, the parents, business partners, podcast hosts, and somehow functioning adults. What does a completely normal day in the King household actually look like? And how much of it involves bikes?
I would say that virtually every day revolves around the bicycle in some way or another. So there's a lot of communication that needs not be said. I mean, one thing we've certainly learned in marriage is that communication is key, but it's understood that we both will want to get on the bike. We'll want to put in our time training. So, it is worth pointing out to Laura, if I have a big day coming up, and I'll try to say, hey, in 2-3 days, whatever it is, I'd like to try to log a 5-hour day. I feel like as time passes, the volume of training has certainly decreased. The obligations off the bike have increased considerably, be it with Untapped or communicating with sponsors and sort of the off-bike, slightly less glamorous side of being a independent contractor. So yeah, it's the unwritten knowledge that we both want to get our rides in. And so that makes it a common denominator of the day. What would you say, Laura?
In terms of a typical day, this is the first year both of our kids have started school. So we do have the increased window, but still very short feeling window of, the kind of 8 to 3, where we're kind of packing in everything that we need to do, which includes work obligations, riding obligations. And if we need to kind of go beyond that, then we're asking each other to, flex in some way. But generally we try to split. One person does the drop off, one person does the pickup. And I think for the most part, we try to just have equal balance in where we can. And then also just help each other out when someone has a goal that's big or something where, we need to chip in a little bit more.
And then there's also I realize we're diving more into the day by day, what a typical day looks like. Laura will spend more time with the kids in the morning doing Hazel's hair, getting the kids dressed. I will be making the kids lunch. We'll always alternate who is going to be. One person will drop off, one person will pick up. A lot of the just household chores and parenting chores get, I would say, allotted very evenly. And some I do exclusively, Laura will do exclusively, and others it's understood that we'll alternate.
Most of the time, Ted's the dump man. He in Vermont, you have to still take your garbage to the dump. And today was one of those odd days where we have a lot going on, and he asked me to go, and I went, but I didn't enjoy it. I really hate the dump, and I love that.
And she will let you know.
I love that that's his thing.
Go to the dump begrudgingly. She will tell you that she hates it, even though you've known for 8 years that she's hated it from the onset. So, anyway, a lot of unwritten stuff, unsaid stuff too.
Also not my favorite. When my daughter is here for the summer or winter breaks, that's her chore. Like, you take the garbage out. But, as they grow up, they start to help. So, yeah. And by the way, Hazel's hair, it's always so nice. I wish I could braid like that on my own hair. So beautiful. Impressive work.
She genetically, I think, got Ted's family's head of hair that's just beautiful, and doesn't mind. It's kind of our time together in the morning and my creative project for the day. So it's kind of fun.
Well, with all that you have said, people love calling you a cycling power couple. Do you actually identify with the label, or you just have a laugh every time you hear it?
You look at me.
What do you think?
I would just ascribe a descriptor to us in general as a power couple, because I think we push each other in unique ways that have made us both better. And I love that about our relationship. I am definitely an improved and better person since marrying Ted, and I hope he would say the same for me. But as it relates specifically, I mean, I guess it kind of relates to everything in life, whether it's parenting or something as minor as just our organization or how we clean. Like, I think we're constantly helping each other to level up, and that's something that I really appreciate about our relationship. But I wouldn't say, even though it pours over into cycling, I don't think about that in just like, we're not aiming to be a cycling power couple. It's just been, an outlet for us that we both enjoy. And like any other outlet, we push each other to be better and level up.
I think from the perspective of cycling, there was a time that I felt like we kind of earned that crown. And yeah, I certainly think it's tongue in cheek. And especially when I got into gravel, I was the king of gravel, and then we're the kings of gravel family. And that was a time where I think we both found our way to the top of the podium with great regularity, and time has passed, and that time on the top step of the podium is more interspersed. There's more time interspersed. But from the perspective of a family, I do think we're something of the power family of gravel. I think of Keegan and Sophia from the perspective of gravel, and they're the power couple, right? I mean, they are winning the world's biggest gravel races. There are a handful of other couples out there, and then similarly, there are other parents. There's Ian Boswell or Pete Stetna. These are my friends and contemporaries who have kids, and certainly their spouses and partners are very accommodating to allow them to race and allow them the careers that they picked. I think it is really unique what we have to be both so involved in cycling and to be a family and to take our family on the road as frequently as we do. It takes a lot, and it's fun, and it's not without its challenges. But it's sort of this funny double-edged sword. If I go to a race alone, which is very rare, I find myself with an abundance of time, and then kind of scratching my head thinking like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I feel awkward that I'm not taking care of the kid or something of that effect. And then alternatively, if we go as a family, I look around and, the grass is greener. I see my friends who aren't trying to corral their children, and I think, oh my gosh, I'd perform so much better if I didn't have my family here. So I don't say that saying the grass is greener. Like, I appreciate the situation we found ourselves in, and it's working.
Yeah. It looks like that from the outside, and it's good to hear that it's like that on the inside. And yeah, Stetton has been on the pod, and he was talking also about that now, he goes for a race and then he can't really stay. He has to fly back home because his wife is there taking all the load by herself with the kids. So it's also not that she doesn't understand, but it's nice when your partner also is in that world and gets it, what's going on there. Yeah. Yeah. Every cycling couple has an instigator. Who is the one who comes up with the crazy ideas, questionable adventures, ridiculous challenges?
To instigate on behalf of Ted. I like to suggest crazy ideas that I think he should do that I personally don't want to do or am not capable of doing. That's the first thing that comes, like, when he first mentioned Tour Divide, I don't remember whether it was whose idea. It was probably your idea first, but I think I was definitely like very much on board and thought that would be an incredible adventure. Anything that
Rwanda.
Yeah, race around Rwanda. I did say you should do this. This would be a great project. Now, would I ever be able to do it? It's just not. I'm not built the same as Ted. It's not up my alley. But I love seeing the crazy adventures that he puts himself through, and I really believe in him. And so it's fun to be that instigator sometimes.
All right. So you are the one to credit for a race around Rwanda, because I wanted to talk to Ted, because that's a special race for me, because I did the second edition and I was wondering, like, how was your experience? Do you have any ultras planned?
Amazing experience. That was my first time to Africa. It was still the number of ultra races I've done, I can count on one hand. It was fun that Lawrence Tendam was there. He's a good friend, and from WorldTour days up through the present. So it is something that I look back on very fondly. Someone recently asked, would you go back? And I mean, the answer is no, because I had success there. I think my answer was, if I had all the time in the world and I could live forever, yeah, I'd go back in a heartbeat. But we are here for a limited time, and so yeah, I look for other ultras. Certainly with Tour Divide going on now, that itch is coming back. And I know how challenging it was when I took part in, call it, a quarter of the race, let alone that the speeds are dropping by such considerable margins. So, gosh, yeah, I think ultras there's something that is just really fun to think about, the creativity that goes into it. It's easy from the comfort of your own home to think of all the positives, and then you sort of forget how miserable it can be in the heat of the race. But
yeah,
very good memories there.
Cool. I wish I did the year you guys were there. But yeah, when I went, I had so much fun, and I got so lucky because it didn't rain. And I know when it rains in Rwanda, it's the worst peanut butter mud ever. Well, actually, there was one rain, but I was already in a shelter, but didn't get any of that infamous mud.
Sure. Yeah.
So, Ted, question for you. A lot of athletes struggle after retirement, and somehow you retired World Tour and became even more visible than before. Looking back now, did you ever expect the gravel chapter to become bigger than the road chapter?
Not in the least bit, ever. I in my heart of hearts, I am still a road cyclist. I follow road racing closely. It's such a huge chapter in my life. I do the majority of my training on the road. Gravel is a unintended consequence of the career that I had, and certainly being able to do it now in the 11th year of post World Tour racing was never expected. And yeah, to be characterized in a bigger light or seen in a bigger light than my road racing career doesn't really seem possible. And I think maybe there's, to a degree, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, there's probably an imposter syndrome position in that, because when I was racing the World Tour, I was a domestique, and I worked for some of the biggest names in cycling over my career. And then I segue into this, you wouldn't even call it gravel in the first few years. It was an ambassador role, first and foremost. And I'd drop in on a couple races. And obviously gravel has boomed since then. But, having nothing but success. So I'm thinking, all right, my physiological talents allow me to do so much. My training for the previous 10 years as a professional road racer allows me to do a lot. But like, if Peter Sagan came over to gravel, he would crush us all. Or if Vanderpool came over to gravel, like, it just seemed like it was this other thing, which has obviously spawned a entire industry booming success. I mean, the what gravel is doing now is incredible, and it's makes me excited and happy to think back on, you know, the iota of work that I did to make gravel be seen in such a positive light. So my one word answer is, would I have expected it? No.
Makes sense. Guess it was just a fun chapter that turned into something much bigger.
Yeah, I think right time, right place, and through a heck of a lot of hard work to have gotten there. Like, a lot of the social media presence and awareness that I created through my road career was never with the intention to have a following that allowed me to do what I'm doing. But that's sort of the nature of how my life has unfolded. Like, whatever work you're doing here is going to unfold in another way here, and you can't predict the way it's going to be, but a door will open and you just sort of have to hop through it and see where it takes you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Laura, your role in cycling has evolved so much, you know, triathlete, Ironman, cycling racer, advocate, event organizer, community builder. Which version of yourself has surprised you the most?
That is a great question. I mean, I suppose if I had never met Ted, I may not have joined this, I don't know, like the journey that I'm on now, which has been, you know, racing as a family in gravel for the last, 10 years.
Yeah, your athletic career was taking you to running.
I was trail running. So yeah, I may not have gone as deep in this gravel world otherwise. It's, you know, upon meeting him and spending more time just riding and being on the bike and kind of just having the opportunity to have adventures together and have someone alongside you, it changes the whole experience of going to a bike race or seeing the world. And so, yeah, I feel really lucky for that. We've just made a lot of special memories through the bike.
Yeah. It's nice how you both inspire each other and push each other. And you have been able to have this whole different chapter that you didn't realize that maybe would be your path, so to speak.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. And so both of you had established cycling identities long before becoming parents. How has parenthood changed your relationship with competition, if changed at all? And I guess we already talked a little bit about that, but how do you train now?
I joke that parenthood is the opposite of performance enhancing. There are certainly outlying examples where people will become parents and become superstars. And again, I think that has a lot to do with supportive spouses on either side. A lot of my perspective on answering the question has to do with my timeline in becoming a parent at, you know, call it mid-late 30s, after having already established a road career and having had success in gravel. So everything now is just icing on the cake. So from a competition standpoint, I need to be quite a bit more focused and structured and specific about what particular goals I have in mind, as opposed to racing the traditional, 30 race calendar and pack it all in. I'm sort of tailing off my answer there. I don't know. I mean, last night, it's small potatoes, but we went to this local, probably 3 miles as the crow flies. There's this midweek mountain bike race series that's been going on for 36 years. And I took part in it in college. I took a 20-year hiatus up through not quite 20 years, but I've dropped in it on the past 8 years since living here. I love it. It took me forever. It took me until last year to win my first race. And maybe that's because here at the age of 43, I'm getting to be a better mountain bike racer. but I won a handful of races last year. I won a couple this year. I won the one last night. And I love how kids just don't care. Like, okay, I'm talking about a midweek training race, so I understand this is not like winning Unbound or something enormous, but like whether I'm at Unbound and one of the last times that our kids were there, I finished 4th, or I'm winning this race that's small potatoes, they don't care. They're happy you're there. They're happy to ride their bike. They're happy to see other people. And
the first thing they want to say is, when you're done, is, Dad, watch me on the pump track. Yeah. Like, you focus on me. So
sure,
they like cheering you on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're not totally fazed by it either.
Very humbling, yes.
Yeah. It helps shape perspective, and being a parent has been nothing but awesome, if not performance depleting.
I think for me, it's helped me just compartmentalize the cycling aspect and the cycling goals of my life, and to have the mindset of, I'm just going to make the most of this window that I have, and I'm not going to fret about as much. I still sometimes fret, but like about the kind of volume that others are putting in. Basically, I've embraced training smarter. Harder and smarter, but not longer necessarily. And being confident in that. And then also, I guess it's helped me to have a perspective of, it's not all about me. There's just, racing you can really kind of just get sucked into, the details of all of it that revolve around you, whether it's, I don't know, your gear or how you're feeling or what, every little detail you can really fixate. And having kids is awesome because you don't have time to fixate on little details. You do the best that you can, but then you need to feed your children, attend to them. You want to help them to have a fun weekend when you're out at a race. Like this past weekend, we took them to the Science Museum the day before our race, and we're biking all around Ottawa to help them to like be tourists and taking them swimming. And I love that because I actually have a tendency to fixate and get anxious and think too much about racing and think too much about my performance. And so I love the distraction of realizing it's not all about me.
Yeah, as a mom, I completely relate to that. Yeah, to everything. My daughter also was never fazed by anything. And every week, once she even asked, like, why you have to swim, bike, and run all the time? And we came into agreement, okay, weekends, we're going to do something. I'll do my training, something for me, something for you, and something for us. But then every Friday would be like, what are we doing for me? What are we doing for me? But you mentioned the kids are hitting the pump track. So they are growing up and probably in one of the most bike-centric households imaginable. Do you hope that you become cyclists, or are you trying hard not to care?
Well, one thing I would say about that before I answer your question is we are a bike-centric household in that bikes are a part of our everyday life. But I actually don't think we spend a lot of time talking about cycling in our day-to-day. I don't think the kids get from us that like cycling is, I don't know, this huge thing that, I don't know. I
think inevitably there's a lot of talk around, like, if you are a fly on the wall or our children listening to our conversation, we might not like, hey, how's your training going, Laura?
Yeah, we definitely don't.
Yeah.
But there's a conversation all the time about fitting in a training ride and, hey, can you work on my shifting and yada, yada, yada. So I think there's a lot of that. I think I would struggle to push my kids into bike racing. I think what I would really focus on is providing them a lot of opportunities. I grew up playing every sport, and I thank my lucky stars and thank my parents that I was able to do that. And whether they get into sports or if they get into an instrument or reading or whatever they're going to be, I want them to experience a lot. I recognize that they're at a certain age in life that they gravitate to doing the things that their parents do. I figure when they're 12 years old, riding a bike with your parents is the last thing they want to do. So yeah, it is special that we share this this common fondness for the bike. I mean, the weather only recently got really nice here in Vermont, and I bet 25 times a day our 4-year-old says, "Can I go ride my bike?" And he rips outside and he rides up and down the driveway. "Dad, will you ride a bike with me? Dad, will you ride a bike with me?" So I love that. It is a really special thing that we share. The kids love riding bikes, their own bikes, or going on the cargo bike. I rode our daughter to camp this morning on our e-bike, 2 miles into town. And yeah, there's something really special. I want them to be proficient on a bike. I want them to find it to be a fun recreating activity, and whether they get into competition or not, TBD.
I mean, bike racing is inherently dangerous. I think about the danger a lot. So honestly, from a mom's warrior perspective, I would love it if they chose a sport that was less injury inducing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love that they also love, I just hope that they love the bike, and I hope that they love to ride recreationally, or, it doesn't have to be in a race capacity. They're definitely two children though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good that they enjoy, because it's part of your life. So you can all do that together, and hopefully they'll continue to enjoy, even if it's recreationally and not get into the sport deeply, and have the freedom to choose. That's nice.
Yep, exactly.
And let's talk about this year's Unbound. I know, Laura, you set out, and Ted, you went, but it was just absolute carnage. Mud, rain, mechanicals, destroyed drivetrains, chaos everywhere. You ended up in the hospital right after Statina, or right before Statina. What was your perspective on this year's race, and do the hardest editions become the most memorable?
I can't help but be personally very bummed about this year's Unbound, because I've gone to 2 XLs. And this was my third, and the previous 2 I went in kind of with the perspective of like, well, if I don't win, or if I'm not on the podium, then it's been a failure. And the first year, after walking, I think we logged 15 miles of walking. And it was 5 days before I'm going to take on my first Tour Divide. I said, I think I've had enough of this. So that was frustrating. And, I didn't think much of it at that point. But then fast forward to the next year, 2 years later, and then I had, after my 5th flat tire, I was on my last tube, and I was halfway through the race, and I just said, I can take this tube and ride 1 mile forward towards pavement and then make my way home. So I got home at 2 a.m. successfully, as opposed to having to call for help. The point being, I went into this one being like, okay, I don't care where I finish. I want to finish. That is my goal. So I was riding well and happy with how things were shaking out, and I was in the top 10, and I'm like, you know what, this is pretty decent. And then boom, I crashed at 9:30 at night on a pretty innocuous bridge. I mean, I stood up a handful of minutes afterwards as I was waiting for a pickup, and I'm like, how did I crash here? This is ridiculous. But immediately on impact, I look down at my knee, and it's gushing blood, and I can see a giant gaping hole. And I think, there's not a chance I'm going to make it another, whatever it was, 200 miles at that point. So, 0 for 3, and that leaves me nothing short of disappointed. Pete and I arrived at the hospital at virtually no times. Apparently that was a common injury, because there was somebody else, another person. The ER doc told us that there are 3 people with identical injuries. That's the first answer to the question. And then secondarily, I struggle with the perspective of Unbound, where they very much claim to be a race of the people. And I think that's outstanding. And yes, the vast majority of people who are riding and racing Unbound are the masses. But the fact that so much hangs in the balance depending on the course they choose is discouraging. And certainly it's epic to look on the other side of a computer screen and see all this muddy carnage and mess and say, oh my gosh, only the strong survive. But outside of first and second place, every single person who finished just looks shell-shocked. And it's, again, yeah, that is a heroic image to see. I guess I wish they could, I'm not trying to say please dumb it down, but in so many words, I'm trying to say pick a course that is still going to be challenging, because riding 200 miles of Flint Hills gravel is going to be challenging no matter what. But don't let it destroy drivetrains, frames. Like, okay, you're going to destroy a chamois because it's so saturated with mud. That's fine. But that's everyone's entitled to their opinion. I really applaud what Unbound has done to create the scene they have. I like the Lifetime people very much. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Not just Unbound. I mean, I have never raced Unbound, so I can't speak for it, but I don't think I would ever race any event that makes it even harder for the fun of it. It's just like, I don't want to hike a bike for 3 hours. Okay, maybe a section, 10 minutes, but I don't want to have those, I want to ride my bike. I want to have a challenge, but like you said.
And so that's where are you familiar with the Barclays Marathon?
Yes.
Please? And
yes.
A point, right? If listener, if you don't know the Barclays Marathon, Google Barclays Marathon or marathons, whatever it's called. That is intentionally trying to have between 0 and 3 finishers. Like it's by its nature trying to be incredibly selective. They own that. Unbound is owning Flint Hills gravel. I wish they would just lean one way or the other. Say like, we're for the people. If you can ride 200 miles or 100 miles or 50 miles or 350 miles, more power to you. Go get it. Or be like, no, you're here for the full adventure, and we're going to point you in the toughest, craggiest, gnarliest, muddiest, peanut butteriest mud out there. So they sort of try to walk this central line, and that's a challenge for me to accept. That's my diplomatic answer.
Yeah, I agree. So let's change to something exciting. Arkansas. You have recently announced a huge life change, moving the family from Vermont to Arkansas. Why Arkansas? Why now? And what kind of adventure you're hoping this next chapter becomes?
Hit it.
Oh, well, it's hard to sum up why really succinctly. I think there, over the course of, I don't know what the time frame would be, but seasons of life ebb and flow, shift and change. And I think now reflecting back, we have been in conversation about a variety of different things in our life that maybe are shifting, or, our desires with children of different, now 4 and 6, are different than they were when they were 1 or 3. For example, we live on beautiful property, a dream-like property. I thought maybe we would live here forever, 10 acres. But, your children, you suddenly realize we both grew up in neighborhoods. Our kids don't really have neighbors' houses they can run to, or kids to play with. And we started to think about, there are some really wonderful things about growing up in a neighborhood, that they're just sort of trade-offs. One is not better than the other. For me in particular, I moved from Marin County, California. No one thought I would make it in Vermont. I'm very proud of my 8 years, but I think after 8 years, I can reflect and say, I still really love sunshine and warmth. And we found ourselves seeking more sunshine and warmth outside of the state, to a degree that isn't, sometimes you're like, we can't always just be traveling. So I think just like coming to terms with, winter has been fun, but I would love to live in a place that has maybe a little less winter. A catalyst was our kids go to a small private school that closed, and that just had us really reflecting on what type of school we want to send our children to and what is available. And it really, what happened is we were down in Fayetteville. We visited the Northwest Arkansas area frequently for the past, number of years. And I was on a bike ride by myself, really enjoying 75 degrees in April. And it was just like a light bulb moment where I realized that a number of things we've been wanting in life could be solved by this place. And it also, the terrain reminds me a lot of Vermont in certain ways. So I kind of developed this pitch in my head, came back to the Airbnb and just like, Ted, how about this? And gave him this pitch of like, what if we moved here? And was pretty shocked when he looked at me and said, that's not the worst idea. So from then on, we just started exploring, and we have friends there. We talked to a lot of people and really just started to feel like the ease of which these doors were opening towards pushing us in the direction of moving. Everything was feeling like it clicked into place and felt really right. And that sort of just continued on with finding a house, selling our house. I mean, it's just been like, very little effort, which makes you feel like that's confirmation that this is like the direction.
The right choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what would you add to that?
Not much.
I mean, well, one other thing I would say that we've both talked about is, Ted obviously has a love for New England. He grew up here. He went to college here. We have a maple syrup based business where it flows here in Vermont. So those are all considerations. Some family is here, but we also love the bike industry. And frankly, there's a lot more going on in Northwest Arkansas, and the accessibility to events and races. And, that's something we consider too, especially as, our jobs evolve and we want to be valuable to sponsors and be able to be participatory in as many types of events and rides as we can. So that was appealing. But yeah, I love that Bentonville is small town feel with like kind of big city amenities in the terms of like, we love good food and, there's a lot of amenities that you might, because of, the Walton family, that you might not expect to find in a town of 65,000. So
it's 80,000.
Oh, it's gone up.
Considerably.
Okay, it's 80,000.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
It ends up being a verbose answer because typically people move because somebody took a job, someone's starting school, someone is doing. We're accustomed to a knee-jerk response, and ours is just a kind of scattershot whole series of reasons. But we're in a time and place in life that we can make those decisions as opposed to having the decision made for us. So yeah, life's short. It's exciting.
Our kids are also at a really prime age where they're, Hazel's starting to make friendships. And so I think, a consideration of like, it gets harder down the road. This is sort of the time to do it. Yeah, that played into it. So I went to Rule of Three about a month after that pitch to Ted. Ted was originally supposed to come with me. We were kind of going to scout town, meet with a real estate agent, so on and so forth. Ted ended up having to attend a memorial, so I went by myself and very unexpectedly found what I would call kind of a unicorn house that...
You got to change the term of that.
I don't know what else to call it. We found a really special home that we just thought, okay, we got to put an offer on this. And so, yeah, long story short, I was there for the race, but not 100% focused on the race. I was there exploring what life could be like in Bentonville, and we found our house. Yeah.
It will be a completely different winter, and I wish you endless happiness in this new chapter. I'm sure you'll be wonderful. And I agree, as a parent, I used to live in Dubai, and I really wanted to stop my corporate job, live this executive life, and just ride more bikes. But I didn't want to make the change because of my daughter. I was like, I don't want to change her whole life because she was 13, 14. But she's the one who came up to me and said, hey, Mom, I want to have an American experience. So she decided to go to the US for high school. And I was like, this is my window. I'm going to Girona. So that was it. Yeah. Yeah. And now
So
she'll graduate high school next year, and hopefully she'll come back to Europe for college. I thought, oh, I'm going to have all this free time. I'm going to train. It hits you, but I'm so happy I have this other identity as a cyclist. And it was really when the house was empty, and it is empty.
You can imagine.
Yeah. Anyways, enough about me. Can we move on to the fire chat round? I have 3 rounds: couple, Ted, and Laura. And then we wrap it up.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
great.
Who takes longer to get ready for a ride?
Laura.
Me.
Laura. Who checks the weather more?
Laura.
Oh, I'd say you.
Well,
Okay, maybe I do.
Laura checks weather. She'll check the weather from 3 weeks out.
Okay, yeah.
It changes. Yeah. Who packs more snacks? Ted.
You've gotten very good at
Well, I thank you. That's probably what you helped me improve on.
Yes. My job is to help Laura pack more snacks. Yes, I pack more snacks. Laura's done a great job adopting that role, especially for the kids.
Oh, yeah. Becoming a mom, I've realized you don't want to ever not have snacks.
Yes. Which brings me to the next question. Who gets hangry first?
Oh, Laura, big time.
Laura.
It runs in my family.
It's like, yeah.
Ted is quiet, like, not going to comment on this. Who is more likely to take a wrong turn?
I know you're going to say me.
Laura, 100%. Like, how it's even debatable is hilarious. Laura.
Who apologizes first?
Me.
Ted.
Who plans the family trips?
Me.
Yeah. Well, I plan the childcare. Ted plans the trip.
Teamwork.
And I pack the kids. So we kind of split it, but.
Who owns the most cycling gear?
Ooh. I would say I do. I own probably more bikes, more clothes, and because you don't touch any of the tools or cleaning supplies, I would say those belong into my ownership.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Ted.
I'd say I own more bike gear.
Who is the better mechanic?
Oh.
I guess, Ted, you own the tools.
Yes, I'll take that title.
And who is the most competitive?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a really good question because Ted likes to hide how competitive he is. I don't.
I'd still say you are more competitive. I like to do well, but like I can also brush off a poor result, I think, more easily than you. And you stew on things for 3, 4, 5
Well,
days.
my argument with that is because he's had his success, so he doesn't need to prove anything. Whereas
that's not her question.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but digging into the why.
Or not.
I think we're equally competitive.
51.
Okay,
49.
this one is debatable.
49.
Not equal.
Now, Ted, Tour de France or Unbound?
Ooh, we are just shy of the tour, so I prefer the tour.
Gravel or road?
I mean, if people have made it this far into the conversation, then they've already heard me say I like the road. I'd go road. I love gravel. I'm not fighting it in the least, but I'll go road.
Favorite race you have ever done?
My favorite race is the Giro d'Italia.
Nice.
Did it a couple times. We had success there, and it's a phenomenal country to race across.
One thing you miss from the World Tour?
I miss rolling enclosures to have all the trust in the world and dive bombing corners and knowing there's no traffic. That's really unique and something that I'm not hell-bent for leather and looking for danger, but that's a really special thing.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Laura, triathlon or cycling?
Cycling.
Biggest misconception about athlete moms?
That their passions can't be priorities.
Favorite cycling event?
I loved Park City Point to Point.
And one thing you wish the cycling industry understood better?
I think the cycling, this is maybe really niche, but I think the cycling industry needs to do a better job of responding to emails. I'm not kidding. There are a lot of people who maybe are in it because they love bikes, but the professionalism could sometimes go up a notch.
Alrighty. Message delivered. No pun intended. Ted and Laura, what I love about you guys and your story is that it's not just about racing. It's also about building your life around passion, community, and family. I am so happy you both agreed to come to the pod. It's a dream come true to have you both as guests. And hopefully we'll get to meet one day in person. Thank you so much for coming to Zone to Speak.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Juliana.
Thank you so much.
And that's all for today's episode. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends.